Ashay.
All right, so we
Blessings
live,
on
man.
blessings on blessings.
Yeah, we live now, man. What's the word, Mac?
Okay, well, welcome to Behind the Wall, center of the universe. I am, I am the Moon Man. Hey, free the real. I'm putting my situation on the map. Prioritize the paramount. Masters destroyed. Chakras align. Illuminate the shadows. Homostasis achieved. And destiny manifested. Hey, no breaks. We here now. Talk to me.
We here, man. We here, man. So we closing up the season, man. Like, so
Man.
you know what I mean? It's been a long time coming. I remember when we first started this, I was didn't like I knew it would work as in a sense of, us getting a story and being able to understand, you know what I mean, people from behind the wall being able to more understand, you know what I mean, grip a
Yeah.
perspective. But, of course, going into something new, you start off a little bit uncomfortable, but that's ways that that you're growing by putting
Right.
yourself in uncomfortable situations. So, long story short, I'm just like, not surprised or not shocked, but time flew, man, and we at the end right now. You know what I mean, the season, so it feels good, man. It feels great.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I got to salute you because this thing came together organically. And we learned as we on the fly. So the people seem to learn it. You know what I'm saying? So to even this platform, all this stuff is new to us, but it was paramount that these stories be told. So for you to open up the gates like that, man, and let the water flow out there, man. The world owe you one for this one, no breaks.
Man, yeah, and I mean, shit, I go in feeling like I owe the world something. So my main goal is to serve the world. You feel me? Serve the people, and you know what I mean. Hopefully, they pick up a lot of gems because it's a lot of lessons, a lot of things they can learn from these episodes that we had. You know what I mean? But yeah, like so going into the last episode, man, where did you want to pick up at?
Well, I just wanna state, you know what I'm saying, when the people get this, as I give these stories, like I said, these are not me glorifying. You know what I'm saying? This is not me, putting this out there for, like they say, you try at home. I'm far from that. But these stories is being told from my view. And in these times when I was walking in these journeys, I was ignorant to a lot of the true facts.
Mm,
So it might seem that I'm having fun when I'm telling you, but I'm trying to give you the emotion, the experience as I was living. And so, like I said, you live and you learn. I am where I am, and I have no regrets. But at the same token, as we travel through this journey, I never want you to get to the point where I'm doing any type of promotion for my past behaviors. But I
mm,
walked through the fire, and here I am.
right,
So,
right,
yeah,
right.
so yeah, we left off. We pretty much left off. We
I
just going. We ain't even
I
gonna play with it.
believe
You know what I'm saying? We ain't even gonna play with it.
I believe
I
it
think
was
it's time for
like
us to get into the case.
yeah. I believe it was the ending to where he was on vacation down Miami and Marshall swooped in, blase blase. You know what I mean? If you ain't
Right.
see it, go back to the last episode. It means right there. You know what I mean? It's a lot of information, so just make sure you listen actively because yeah, I mean it's a roller coaster and it's very, entertaining but also educational and
Yes.
you get to see that
Yes.
side of the
Walk
story.
with us.
Real. It's real. It's not
Try to.
nothing TV or no scripted anything. It's real life too. So that's the difference.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So from last time, I mean, we popped off there, whatever the case is. So you said you want to just dive right into the case, or how you want
Yeah,
maneuver?
yeah. Well, I mean, because that's where we landed. So pretty much, I got I got picked up in Florida the day before my birthday. So I'm down there on pleasure, go down there on my little Miami vacation. The birthday on the 29th, got a little celebration and all this, and I get blitzed on the 28th. So I
Mm,
basically, on the 29th, I was in Dade County, Dade
mm,
County Correctional Center, whatever, how you want to call it. So anyway, the logistics of it,
And
they got me back to
you said
Delaware.
that basically they was you was facing 32 felonies. That's what they put in front of you when you got in there. Yeah, what were their like felonies? Just to give them a little insight.
What was the felony?
Yeah, what were some of those felonies?
Well, yeah, okay, so at the troop, I'm being informed. The U.S. Marshals ain't tell me too much, so I couldn't really understand until I got back to Delaware. Once I got back to Delaware and I'm in the interrogation room, they slide it over, and so the felonies consist of home invasion, robbery, assault first, about 9 gun charges, conspiracy, wearing a disguise, impersonating the officer. Like, it just was a list. It literally was 32 felonies. You know what I'm saying?
And
so,
how many years did they end up sentencing you?
How many years did they sentence me to?
Yeah, it was like 388, right?
Yeah, that's 388. 388 plus life.
Plus
so you got
life.
300 plus life. And I think they gave me probation afterwards. So I don't know if that's a sick joke or how they do that, but I got work release and all that after I do 388 years plus life.
So they gave you more time than some serial killers.
Yeah, I have no homicide. You know what I'm saying? I have no. I mean, these are not the things that I was facing, but the way the law is established, and because my criminal history, they was able to basically pour all that in my cup. But yeah,
but still 388 years and nobody dropped. It just seems a little bit like extensive, or a little extra there.
Well, I see it comes like that because they do that for one to pave an example for the rest that comes behind me. That's first and foremost. Because what they want is they want you to take the plea. And so I was presented with a plea, and the plea was outrageous at first. But as I got closer to the case and got certain things tossed out and caught witnesses as lies and all that, the plea started coming all the way down. So the plea was all the way down into single digits. Like, I think they didn't put a name. Like, so I think the plea went from 32 years, 26 years, and then it went down to 16 years. And then once I got a big part of the case, a big part of the evidence tossed out, it went all the way down, and it was like under 10. So they didn't say a number. But see, the trick with that is, right? The trick with that is, so say you say, oh, okay, all right, I don't want to face y'all. I take y'all plea. Okay, what y'all offering? 5 years? There's no cap. So the extent of your charges, so if my charges range from, if I plead guilty to a charge, it can run from 5 to 50 years. You know what I'm saying? So they'll say, and the prosecutor says that, take this 5 years. You sign on for it.
That's a minimum.
Go in front of the judge, and the judge has the authority and the power to say, y'all agreed on 5, but, I didn't have a nice day today, so take this 35. And so now you caught in a catch-22. And one thing about them pleas, it's hard. The percentage of you overturning a plea is like, it's in the single digits.
I think,
you know what I'm saying? So,
I think 97% of people who are locked up, and please correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe I seen the stat the other day, and 97% of people who are locked up took a plea.
Took a plea. And that's what they want to show, because they don't want the trial, because the trial, it presents so much and they get exposed in so much, and instead of them playing fair, I mean, not to even branch off subject, but I was watching the news, and Weinstein just got his case overturned. You know what I'm saying?
I seen that.
Coming after Bill Cosby.
I seen
that. You know
that.
what I'm saying? Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is, but the difference between me and them is, first of all, they're somebody. They got money and they got a name. But they got released in the state level. That's why it was so fast. But if I had light shining, if I was somebody, if my thing was publicized, then it will force Delaware to do the right thing for the misjustice that they created. But because they seem like, oh, he's no one, and there's no light shined on him, then they don't do the right thing, and I have to climb all the way out to the federal level, which I'm at now. So it gets a little tricky, but this is how they work. They do illegal things in court, and they mess up your due process and your fairness and all that, and so they tip the scales. And it gets beyond if a person is innocent or guilty. The whole thing is to give them a fair shake. And so because they play so dirty, their numbers go up, and who wants to actually face that? You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people is forced and bet and taking pleas. And yeah, you know.
Yes, yeah, but it's crazy because he got convicted for rape, bro, and they're overturning his that's
he could be
worse.
Free. And his California case, because it's turned over in New York, his California case is fruit from a poisonous tree in a sense, because now it was influenced by that conviction. And so if you overturn that New York conviction, now you got to overturn this California conviction. I'm telling you, you could probably see that man free in a couple months. You see Cosby slammed straight out. So, and you know, it's money. But they had to make an example from the gate. So they got caught up in, you know, that movement, and so they put him down. But they're all right with that little bit of punishment right there. I'm telling you, I see him floating out and living his life like Cosby living his, because, you know, whether they're guilty or innocent or whatever the case may be, they got them lawyers. If I had high power lawyers, if I had any of them in this situation, I wouldn't even be here in trial. I mean, you know what I mean? I wouldn't even have to go through this process. But we're going to get into that as I walk them through the case.
So, yeah, because I'm over here reading and I'm looking at some arrests, and I see here serial killer sentenced to 45 years behind bars. And I'm just looking at these years, and I'm comparing it to your years, and it just don't add up.
It won't make any sense. And to put it icing on the cake, Delaware is so dysfunctional, we don't even have a parole system. So you got that guy that you're looking at serial killer for 45 years. He could be eligible for parole after he does such and such amount of time. Delaware doesn't have a parole system. So you're pretty much doing, you know, what they say, 85, 90% of your time. So it's not even a parole system, and they want to talk about overcrowd and all that. But, you know, like I said, that's a whole different monster. We're talking about, this is coming from the belly of the beast, and they don't play fair.
Right. Nah, I see, man. Golly. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, my fault, man. You can continue talking about the case, where you're at right now. I believe you said that you're in the federal part of the case, if you want to continue going here about that.
Yeah. But that's, you know, that's the end of the story. So we're going to rewind it back. So it starts with me being in an interrogation room. So when I'm in the interrogation room, I'm presented with all these charges. So I'm looking at the two officers in the room, and I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, well, so they start asking me questions. What's up with this? Do you drive a Lincoln MKZ? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, who car is that? I said, it's my mom's car. And they was like, okay, who else drives that car? And I'm like,
you have 1 minute remaining.
I'm like, me? I said, my sister, my man's like, I said, pretty much whoever puts gas in it. I ain't,
Right.
They was like, oh, okay. So they started asking these questions to lean up. So they asked me, why are you down Florida? And I'm like, I always go to Florida. I said, my family's down there. I said, I got 2 uncles down there that have cancer. I said, my birthday was the 29th. I celebrated that. Like, what you mean? Well, it seems like you ran or something. No running from me. The average way. You'd never see me ducking anything. So they, line all these things and trying to get me to admit, and they want to know, well, who was with you and what happened. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So, that was the interview. And then, so now, charged, fingerprinted, booked, sent to Gander Hill.
Thank you for using GTL.
So, yeah, we're going to get right back into it as soon as he give us a call back, man. Right now, we're going through the process in his stages, of his life where right now we're at him being incarcerated inside Gander Hill, being taken from Miami, which he was down there, and then they came down there, expedited him to Wilmington, Delaware. So that's where the story is at now. If you missed the previous episodes, feel free to go to the podcast, Podbean, YouTube. Look at the previous episodes, and yeah, man, tune in, tap in, send me, let us know what you think.
GTL.
Yeah.
Yep.
So pretty much, sent over to Gander Hill. So, uh, so now I'm scrambling. So now I'm reaching out. I already know this routine. I ain't no rookie to this. I already know how to process. I do have, a criminal background, and I'm looking like an easy target to lay this off. They clear the books on certain stuff. So from the gate, it's like, all right, scramble. I need a lawyer. You know what I mean? So like I said before, I'm trying. Me and my mom try to sell a car, and because it was a reconstructed title, and we build it up, and we took it to WeBuyAnyCars.com, and like I said, that car cost almost 16, 17, $18,000 altogether. They offered $1,200 for it. So I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
so my mind is we just gonna keep the car. So anyway, all the lawyers that I was focused on, they wanted 25,000. They wasn't 25,000. They at least wanted majority up front. So that was kind of out of my food range, but anything is possible. So I'm trying to like connect dots, and you would think about this if you even go back to the past history. If we just backtrack just slightly, you'd be like, okay, so what happened? Like, you was getting all this money, you was running around doing this, and life was life, and you should have a nice savings. And so this we get back to the ignorance. You know what I'm saying? And so me being, I'm gonna call it foolish with my funds. I lived for the moment a lot of times, and it was an aspect that picked up early teenage years where I really couldn't see like me being 18 years old. I just felt like I was going to die before that. You know what I mean? And then once I reached 18, it was like, damn, you ain't going to make it to 21, and so forth. So
Why'd
I
you feel
never
like
wanted to
that?
leave anything on the table.
Why'd you feel
I
like you was
always
going?
lived like,
Sorry to cut you off. Why you feel like you was going to die before 18?
yeah, but pretty much because what I was exposed to. When I lived in the heart of my city, so when I stepped off the porch, it was the the bottom of the food chain. From, crack addicts, drug addicts, to robbers, to,
Because it's not
and
you.
whatever you name.
You're not the only one that feel like that. It's like, you hear it in songs a lot. You hear people, being blessed to be past 18 or 21 and stuff like that. Why is that? Why do you feel like that is? Oh, I don't know what happened. Phone hung up. Waiting for him to call back. 1 second. All right, so yeah, back to what we was talking about. Um, so basically, you mentioned that you was irresponsible with the money that you was making at the time because you wasn't as confident as, I guess, seeing life past 18. That's not really like a norm, like, I guess, in that neighborhood, to where people feel like they won't make it past 18 or they won't make it past 21 or 25. Why do you feel like that is?
Well, I just think anytime you walk out, the danger is there. It's like you living in the jungle. You know what I mean? The life expectancy goes down when, you can get mauled on by a tiger or ripped apart by, this or that. And it's the same thing for the streets, so it's like a concrete jungle. When you see your peers die around you at these fragile ages, like I said, you mark it where it's like, that could be me. You seeing it. It ain't nothing that you so on TV, you're living it. And then so what we indulge in, what we engage in, there's always guns around. There's always grimy dudes. It's always, all this. So it just went with the territory. Like, you really couldn't. It's hard to plan for the future. It's hard to have, some type of security.
I understand. I mean, just being in those type of environments raise the risks of stuff to happen. But we hear it so much in these songs. Do you think the way these songs are and these movies are, do you think that plays an influence in our youth
Oh yeah.
today?
Man, I had a quote that I gave on. They can check it out on one of the last episodes, but it was pretty much is like, it's sad that the youth will see a gun, a dead body, before they even see a breast. You know what I'm saying? It's just that's what's lined up. And so, and mind you, you know, for entertainment purposes and even, the rap game. So you got some people that's trying to influence and uplift, and then you got ones a lot of the game they rapping it as it is. You know what I'm saying? And if it ain't that, they creating it. And so even if they personally is not living that life, someone is. And so
Mm.
that definitely that be a lot of them rappers, and I'm telling you, it was a soundtrack of my life. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with Hove in the background, Nas in the
Mm.
background, and you know what I'm saying, and D
Right.
Block in the background. And so my steps was, led by this. The best part about, me, a lot of my adolescent years being in the 90s and the early 2000s, that it seemed like the music had a lot more substance to it. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't
Mm.
all this flaky stuff. So you could learn and get knowledge, and I'm still dissecting and learning stuff from Reasonable Doubt album and Illmatic album. But now it's just straight off the porch, shoot 'em up, Draco and Gang
Mm.
Gang, and I mean all this. So you the mind of young is fragile. That's the learning curve. So if
Mm.
this is what you're pouring in your subconscious, what do you think you're gonna get? This is the product.
Right. Right. Got you. Got you. And we're gonna talk more about that next season. So tune in when we're gonna be doing the current events talking. Yeah, it's gonna be nice. So we're gonna talk more about the music industry and the media, how it was then and how it is now, and type stuff like this. But I wanted to see where his mind was. But yeah, back to the case, man. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
you can continue. Go ahead.
yeah. So basically scrambling. You know what I mean? Trying to put odds and ends in there. Mom Dukes, she's number one rider. You know what I'm saying? People say what they want, and it's always free Mac and all this, but you know you can struggle to get a cash app nowadays. But Mom Dukes, what?
Mm.
Go get title loans and all this other stuff, and so she had my back. So anyway, in this process, I was visited by a lawyer. So her name was Beth Savage. You know what I'm saying? And so she coming and she comes to see me, and so she's presenting the evidence that they got against me, and the plea that they got. So she was like, "Yeah, the plea is ridiculous," because that's when it was at 20 something. And then she was like, "But look," and she was like, "It's kind of looking messy." So I'm like, "What you mean?" She was like, "All right, so the evidence that they have is they have your vehicle at the scene in the area of the crime 2 weeks before a crime even occurred." So I'm like, he was like, "Yeah, your vehicle was there, and someone said you most resembles the
So is
driver
this public?
with other,
This public, right?
huh?"
Is this public or
Well, nah, so it's a property
no?
with us.
I'm saying like as far as
It's
this conversation went.
you said well, this is you said public. Well, this is me and the lawyer having a conversation, an interview. It's like our first interview. What you mean public though?
I'm talking about the evidence that was presented and stuff like that. Is it
Oh, nah.
already
So
like,
nah. Yeah, the
like
cat's not out the bag yet, But this is what she comes and she's saying they have, and this is, you know, we in the preliminary mode, so they gotta pretty much expose the evidence that they got you. Now later on, they can kind of bring more and all this other stuff. So basically, it was the car scene, but not at a crime there, but somebody was asking for hay in the area, and that was one thing. So it was like that looked bad. And then the other thing, she was like that was damaging. She said your fingerprint, your thumbprint was on a roll of duct tape that was in a book bag that was left outside of the scene of the crime. So I'm like, what? So she was like duct tape, but I'm like, well, how can they prove? Like, I could have touched that duct tape anywhere and anybody. Like, I'm not understanding. She was like, yeah. She was like, you don't have to worry about that because that's a movable object. It's different from having your duct tape on,
your
your
fingerprint?
fingerprint
Yeah.
on. So let's say you got it on a pen, right? You touch the pen and they get fingerprints off of it. But that pen is now in
Movable.
Egypt. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean you went to Egypt. That means once upon a time you touched that pen. So that is it's circumstantial. You know what I'm saying? So she was like, and then she was like, and the other piece was you have a witness that's trying to say that she seen you at a different, like a month before the crime, at another situation that she's saying she picked you out as most resembling the person that did this, but that wasn't part of that crime. So I wasn't understanding. She was like, "Well, we're gonna have a hearing," and it's crazy because that hearing right there is not to go off board, but if you look into that Weinstein, that's the whole reason why he got his case overturned. It's called a 404 hearing, and basically it's prior bad acts, and so it's like them something that didn't have to do with the actual crime, but being something in the past, and them bringing that up. So we had a whole hearing about if they're going to allow that, and so mind you, she tells me all this stuff, and she was like, "Well, I'm gonna have a hearing, a 404 hearing on that to get that tossed out, but you got these two things right here." And then she was like, it asked me why would I go to Florida and all these other things, and so I'm like, I really don't trust the public defenders because they be overworked and underpaid and all that, and not to mention they eating lunch with the prosecutor, so
Mm.
trust it wasn't strong. So I'm still lawyer shopping. So
Mm.
I had my man's paid 300 rest in peace Juan, and he paid $300 for a lawyer just to come visit me. So I think it was Benson. And so no, yeah, it was Benson. So he comes to visit me, and he's like a top shot lawyer, criminal lawyer in our hood. A lot of major players pick him up. He won, like I said, he won 25,000. So he comes to visit me. So he goes to the case. He was like, "Look, man, I'm gonna just tell you, this shit look messy. You know what I'm saying? But this is what I'm gonna charge and da 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 da." So I'm like, So we had another lawyer that was a heavy hitter just like him, and I talked to him. And then so he was like, "But I'm looking right here. He's saying your lawyer is Beth Savage." And I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "Dog, she's a pit bull in the skirt." So I'm like, "What you mean?" He's like, "Yo, anything I could do, she could do, if not better." He said, "She hungry right now. I'm telling you." So I'm like, "Yeah." And then so I checked around, and a couple private, expensive lawyers was saying the same thing about her. So I was like, "Hold on." So now I'm rocking out with Beth. You know what I mean? So I start digging into my case law and all this other stuff like that. So anyway, we end up having that hearing. So at that hearing, they brought the witness up to say they brought the witness up, and so we was trying to see if they was going to allow it. So she was like, basically, yeah, a crime happened, and he was the one that was there, and this happened to me and my boyfriend, or whatever the case may be, da da da. So our lawyer was like, well, he wasn't charged for that. He's never been charged for that. Been investigated for that. You have it's not, you know what I mean? So anyway, we caught her in a lie because she was saying, no, 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 not that time. But she was saying something about a watch. She was like, "Yeah, I remember a watch," or something like. But I didn't understand it at that time. It makes sense a little later. So anyway, the judge ruled in our favor and said, "No, no, no, we're not allowing that. That's too flaky." Tossed it out. So now with that piece of evidence, tossed it out. They only got two things. They got one, the car, which wasn't at a crime. It just was there 2 weeks prior to the crime, so it looks suspicious. They call it case in the joint. And then they got the
Bluetooth
fingerprint, but the
disconnected.
fingerprint is a movable object. So this, so with this, the prosecutor get to scrambling, and so mind you, they take the plea. That's when the plea went from 26 and went down to 16. And when it went down to 16, my lawyer was like, no, right before the first plea was 26. Before we had the joint, they burned it down to 16. Once we got that tossed out, she was like, "Look, they're offering under 10. I mean, I don't know. They won't put an exact number on, but they're saying under 10. Like, what you want to do?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm like, I'm not doing it. It's just like, we going all the way. I don't trust these people. They try and pin something on me. Nah, let's go out. Let's air this out in court." So once I told her that, she seen I wasn't budging off it, it was ride time. So basically, we start gearing up and getting prepared for trial and all this other stuff. So did she put some more emotions in? But all right, so I'm gonna just get right into the sauce. So now, going to trial. Okay, so right before the trial, she asked me, "Do you have what's up with the watch?" And I'm like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about." She was like, They're saying, "Do you have a watch in your property? Did you get locked up with a watch?" I'm like, "Nah." I said, "I don't even really wear watches." She was like, "Well, okay." So when I was on the phone talking to my girl at this time, and we was discussing the case, but I don't like to talk to. She told me never talk on the phone about the case. So she just asked like, what was going on and all that. So I'm like, "Yeah, everything is everything." I was like, "Yeah, I don't know." She asked me something about a watch, but I don't know, and I left it at that. So with the day of the trial, we started picking up drawers. My lawyer come in and was like, what the hell did you do? Did you talk on that phone? Did you say anything? I'm like, nah. She's like, and you don't have no watch. If I check your property, like she was basing on me. So I'm like, no, I don't know nothing about no watch, and I ain't say nothing goofy on the phone. So she was like, well, we see, I got the phone disc right here. So she leaves. So I guess she go listen to it. She come back. She was like, you okay? She was like, but so we go into the courtroom. So right before they brought the jury in, they say, she was like, yeah, I declare a mistrial. I want to put a motion in for a mistrial. So the judge been like, on what grounds? She was like, well, it just came to my knowledge, which was a Brady violation, that the state didn't.
You have 1 minute remaining.
They said the state didn't disclose that they was having a pretrial hearing, and it was the prosecutor in there, it was the lead detective in there, and it was the one witness in there. And the one witness, while they was getting their story straight, they slid a 6-photo array with my picture in there and 5 other pictures in there. And they told her to pick out the person. And she picked somebody else out. And then the judge, and then the detective said, "Are you sure?" And then she looked and she's like, "Oh, no, no, no." And she pointed at me. And she said, "That's him. That's Marshall Brown." And then so the judge said, "Well, hold on. Does the witness know the defendant personally or anything?" My lawyer said, "Never knew him, nothing." So it come to find out she got the name out of the newspaper and she was trying to connect the dots. So the judge was like, hold on. This is looking suspect.
Thank you for using GTL.
What? This is crazy, bro. This story is wild. Oh, Lord. On to the last segment of this episode, man. So let's get it.
All right. Speeding. So basically, the judge said, yeah, this looks suspect. But he said, but because she was trying, so my lawyer said, this is established that, that's a wrong identification. And then y'all didn't bring it to me and knowing this. And he said, so the judge said, well, even though she did that, that's about that 404 hearing. She was picking him out for that last straight. So that really, because I tossed that out, I'm not gonna rule in your favor because they can't even use that. But I'm like, where's the fairness? Because the jury don't get to see, this mistake. So anyway, we move forward with the trial. So the trial comes, and so so the first thing they do is they also say DNA. So they bring the DNA analyst in. And so, mind you, I forgot that was part of the evidence. But the evidence said that the DNA that was found on an item inside the book bag. Now, mind you, you got to be a mathematician to even quote these numbers. But it was saying that I could not be excluded or included. There was like, I fit the profile because I'm black, and the DNA strain that we have in our black. And they were saying it was like such and such percentage of that being possibly me. But so when my lawyer, and mind you, they had the DNA expert on there for like an hour, 45 minutes just talking. I'm talking about Joy falling asleep. They're doing all this technical stuff. So when my lawyer cross-examined, she basically said, so well, all you're saying is, you're saying he can't be included or excluded, but you're saying his profile, like because he's black and it lines up, that basically half of the black population is in the same shoes. That's what it was, basically.
Wow.
So it was like, yeah, so it didn't make no sense. So she was like, so basically the bailiff that's black, he can be in there. You know what I'm saying? And why this other black person not? So they said half of the population. She did some quantum, trillion, cotillion. I can't even say the words that you were saying. So I forgot we had a hearing to try to exclude. The jury don't need to hear this DNA expert because they're not saying that it's not evidence that it's me. You know what I'm saying? So the judge said, well, I'm allowed. They can bring it. So anyway, they bored the jury with that. And my lawyer effectively, brought out that situation. Basically, if you're black, 2 black people, one of them could be included or excluded. So anyway, that was that part. So then they brought a detective on. So the detective was saying that he was like, all right, so I basically was monitored to watch Mr. Brown. You know what I'm saying? So I guess this is after the crime. So he was like, he was outside of my bear house in a marked car, and he was watching the house. So he said he witnessed me come out the house and walk. Now, this is the highway. I walked out of my neighborhood to the highway to go to the gas station, to the store next to the gas station. I grabbed something out the store at the gas station, and I walked all the way back and got in my car and pulled off. And then he's saying this is broad daylight. This is like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I get in my car and I drive. I drive down the main highway. He says I pull over into a parking lot, the shopping center, and an unknown black person walks up and gives me a package. And then I drive away, and then they lose me. So my lawyer like, oh, you saying, okay, so she gives him his police report. She said, point in there where you say an unknown black person gave him a package. And so he flips to the pager. He said, it's not in here. She was like, so where'd you get that from? Like, you didn't put it in your report, but now you're saying it. She was like, oh, well, she was like, all right, so I just want y'all to know that, basically call him in a lie, just try and juice it up.
Right.
So she asked, well, how was his behavior? Because you're saying after this point, he's wanted or not wanted or a suspect, or this crime happens and he's so-called on a run. How was his behavior? You know what I'm saying? Well, he walked to the store. So was he like wearing a hoodie or something? So basically, she pointed out the fact that basically I was maneuvering with nothing to hide. It's broad daylight. I'm out. I'm out and about. And so a person to hide is on the low and all this other stuff. So she proved all that, got him off the stand. Cool. So they put the witness on there. So the one witness on there. So mind you, let me tell you about this witness. This first witness is on there. They interview her 45 minutes after the crime. It's on a police report. This is documents. See, everything you say is transcripts, documentation, and all that. So you don't have to take my word for it. Always do your research. So a police report after the crime, they was interviewing her, and they say, can you identify the assailants that was in your house? And she was like, no, it was too dark. And then and she was like, they was wearing masks. She was like, well, can you tell me, could you see his eyes? And she was like, no, it was too dark. So that's on record on police report. So bang. So mind you, the witness, the first witness testified, and they go through the crime and all what happened and all that other stuff. They said it seemed like it was trucks. The cars were sitting high, so it was like trucks that came when they came out. And they basically just went over, all of them said their ordeal and what happened. So at the end of the case, so that was them. And so no one pointed me out saying they seen me at the crime. So the one witness said, yeah, well, I seen him at the car, but she was like, but wasn't it also proven that you said someone also looked like him? So it's like you point out a identification. It's like, yeah, that looks like him, but this other guy also looks like him. So that is, which one is it? You know what I'm saying? And this was for 2 weeks before the crime or whatever. So anyway, squash that. That's their testimony. So now it's time for my lawyer. So my lawyer gets up. And she was like, so they're talking about this DNA. That's all junk. You know what I'm saying? They're saying the car was at the crime, at the scene of the crime. 2 weeks before. So she put my mom on the stand. So she asked my mom, was like, so do you own this Lincoln car, da-da-da? Yes, that's my car. Who drives that car? Well, my son drives it. And she was like, does anybody else drive the car? And she was like, yeah, his friend, Hassan drives it. She was like, okay, Hassan. So when does Hassan drives it? She was like, yeah, he drives it. When I was locked up for the violation, Hassan had the car for 30 days. So he's like, okay, so where's Hassan now? And she was like, well, Hassan is dead. And then she said, when did Hassan die? Like, Hassan died like 2 months ago. You know what I mean? So it was like, okay. And how did Hassan die? And he was like, he was shot in the head. And then she was like, all right, no further. And she was like, oh, before that, she was like, do y'all have family down in Florida? She was like, yeah. Is anyone sick down there? He's like, yeah, my twin brother is down there, and my brother-in-law. And he was like, no further questions. So that was that testimony. So then she brings a roll of duct tape, and she throws it over there by the jewelry. She was like, you see that roll of duct tape? She said, that roll of duct tape was my father's. He lives in Florida. His fingerprints is on that. He never stepped in this courtroom. But you see how easy it is for his fingerprints to be here. That's a movable object. You know what I'm saying? So you can't prove the fact that, a person is there on something. She was like, now, if a fingerprint is on a door jamb or somewhere in the house, that's different. They can't prove that. So he was like, the case is obsolete. They don't have it. So, bam, she put it in a nutshell. She went straight at him. So all of this, let me see. Yeah, so now mind you, I'm gonna tell you this real quick. They have a process, and the process is so after the prosecutor say their case, we put a Rule 29. It's a judgment of acquittal. It's for insufficient evidence, lack of evidence. So after they do it, you gotta put a procedure. I put a motion in for Rule 29, judgment of acquittal. So that basically makes the judge take the power to take the case out of the hands of the jury and just rule and throw it out because he's saying lack of evidence. We're saying, so I looked up a case. Now, real quick, I looked up a case where a person won off of, they won in their direct appeal, but they won off of this judgment of acquittal. And in this case, this person, it was a subway that was robbed. And when the subway was robbed, a person was wearing a Yankee cap and a stocking. They seen him coming out of the subway. After he robbed the place, they seen a car, a Honda Pilot Jeep, pull out of the joint, pull out of the driveway. So they called the police. We've been robbed, and they tell the police we seen this Honda. So they come to the scene. They find in the back of by the dumpster, they find the Yankees cap. They said this was what he was wearing. He's like, yeah. So they got the dogs to sniff it. The dogs sniffed the scent, and it was traced to a phone booth. The phone booth was then, the number was used to call the defendant's girlfriend at this time around this. It was like a half a mile from the place. And his DNA was on the hat. Then they pulled over the Honda. In the Honda, they found the suspect's identification, they found walkie-talkies, and they found some ammunition. And then the driver had some weed on him or something like this. So they had all this evidence against this guy. So he put in the rule judgment of acquittal saying, yo, you can't prove when that DNA was on there. They used some word like it was predominantly his. You can't really say whose DNA is stronger. As many DNA is on there. And then all the evidence that they had against him, he's saying is insufficient. They ruled he lost his case. He picked it up back on direct appeal. They ruled in his favor. So I seen that case, and this was a federal case or something, but I gave it to her. Like, yo, use this on on judgment of acquittal. So we argued that, brought it up in our motion. The judge was like, I deny. So once he denies it, then the defense goes. So the defense give their case. Once the defense gives their case, and then you bring it up again, judgment of acquittal. You know what I'm saying? Then he can deny it again. Then after you're found guilty or whatever the case may be, you got to bring it up within a certain amount of time after the trial. And then you bring it up one more time. That reserves your right. So anyway, we do all of this and the steps he denies and all this. So mind you, the jury goes to deliberate. We waiting. They pull out a question. So after several hours, they come with a question. Well, is it possible we can find him not guilty of all the charges, but find him guilty of conspiracy? Now, the conspiracy part is tricky because conspiracy means co-conspirators with me. Mm-hmm. But in my case, I'm the only one locked up. So it's hard to prove conspiracy unless you have someone saying, okay, we conspired to do this. You know, we was there. So they had none of that corroborating testimony against me. It's just me. I'm the only one, no co-defendants. But yet and still, they said it was 4 or 5 or 6 or how many people that was in this crime. So anyway, we bring that they bring that question up. The judge give them saying, well, y'all need to follow the law, and if y'all find whatever the case may be. So anyway, deadlock. They deadlock on it. So boom, hung jury, mistrial. So I'm like, okay, boom, cool. So mistrial, prosecutor saying they want to try me again. Cool. So we start getting ready for trial. My lawyer put in a motion, 2 motions. The one motion was that detective, if he says that statement that he said about that parking lot, which is not in his records, it automatically mistrial. That was the first joint. And the second motion was to exclude an in-court identification because you had no one in the court identifying me. And I forgot to tell you, when my lawyer was doing her closing argument, that's what she was saying. She was like, they only had this piece of evidence, which is a reasonable doubt. You had no one pointing my client at the scene. He was, we have no vision, no one at the scene. So how can you prove anything? So anyway, hung jury, mistrial, I'm back in Gander. So I'm feeling a little better. You know what I mean? I lost like fucking 10 pounds going through the stress of that. So mind you, we getting ready for the new trial. She put the 2 motions in. The first motion, I told you, the second motion was to exclude the in-court identification. Then I get a letter from her. A letter from her, it says, I'm sorry, I can no longer represent you. Giving your case files to some other lawyers. They're going to take care of you. So I'm like, what? So I'm like, no. So I write her back like, yo, whatever. I'm like, whatever private firm you going to, what's up, man? What's happening? You know what I mean? I'm trying to pay, and I say all this. So she write me back was like, nah, I'm not going to the private firm. Going to the prosecutor side. I never heard of
What?
that before. They hired her for the prosecutor in the middle of my retrial.
Hold
I never
on.
heard of it. Now, mind you, I didn't even know the
What?
seriousness of it then. Yeah, I didn't know the seriousness of it because I was ignorant to a certain law. But all I'm saying is, okay, all right, now I'm back lawyer because I don't trust the lawyers that they got. So I end up going in the pocket, and we end up getting a lawyer for a little under 10 grand. So some cheap Mike Monica got him. So he comes to see me. He's confident. He's like, yo, I could just.
You have 1 minute remaining.
And I can just go off of her blueprint, and they don't got 2 legs to stand on. So the judge ruled on the one motion in our favor that the cop can't say that, and then he held out on the second motion. And on the second motion, he held out until it was already ready to go to trial. So the day before trial, we had a hearing. Now, mind you, let me drop this on you. This is the one thing I'm gonna leave y'all with. The thing was, when the witness testified, you sequestered the witnesses. That means they can't be in the courtroom. But after they testified, they asked the judge, the prosecutor, can they sit and watch the case? And they said no objections are allowed. So now the witness sits in the stands and watches the rest of the case. But now we're in a retrial situation. So them same witnesses now tainted because they just sat there and watched the evidence against me. Guess what? The judge, after the hearing, he rules in their favor. And I'll tell y'all about the hearing.
Thank you for using GTL.
What? So, oh man. I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. Finishing up this season. I actually have a video visit coming up soon, as y'all see on my prompt here. So yeah, let's get it, man. Let's get it. We have a lot of exciting news on the way, announcements, and more experiences and stories. So let's get it.